Hi, fellow classmates, instructors, and friends. This is Ginny, your humble TCM student who knows absolutely nothing about this field, but wanted to start this audio journal to record everything TCM. If you would like to join my study group as well, please come learn with me. And let's get healthier by healing our bodies from the inside out holistically together. Hey Google fam, thank you so much for tuning back with us for another study session. Today we have Jennifer back to talk to us about another set of Jiangfu organs, which is the liver and gallbladder. So from the previous episode where we had an introduction for Jennifer, I've learned that first of all, your father is a practitioner. Second of all, your whole family is very into TCM. So when you were younger and you used to get mad about something or have like an outburst, so to speak, your mom would actually say to you, your liver is off balance. You need to balance your liver because the liver is in charge of anger. And in TCM, the liver actually helps regulate your emotions. Now, I'm pretty sure a lot of you are thinking like, okay, what does your liver got to do with your emotions? Like, it's like the weirdest thing. And I would love to know how that works. Can you let us know, first of all, what the functionalities are for the liver and gallbladder, what it controls, and perhaps even why it controls the things that it controls?
So liver and gallbladder are the Jiangfu organ pairs that are controlling blood. So liver is actually in charge of holding blood, storing blood. It's a huge organ that's on the right side of our body, and it is very important for women, especially when we think about menstruation. And actually, it doesn't just control emotions. Specifically, it focuses on the anger or irritable motion. But the other four Jiangfu organ pairs all represent different emotions: grief, happiness, joy, fear, worry. Those are the other emotions. So when we talk about anger and irritability and frustration or impatience, that's usually what's represented by the liver. And the gallbladder is actually, again, playing more of a supporting role. So it moves things. It also holds more of the biles. And what we focus on for the liver is more of the stress and the way that stress can accumulate in the body. If you think about it, when we're stressed, the whole body is kind of in this tense fight or flight mode, and the body's heating up. The blood is getting hot, and what controls blood? Liver. Another thing I think we forget about is how much different foods or toxins like alcohol or medications affect the liver as well. So it may not just be stress, but it can be a side effect from other things. So when we talk about emotion as liver, it's more focusing on the irritability, the short-temperedness, the PMS symptoms, if you will, because it's all related to the blood.
Mm-hmm. So does that mean that for ladies specifically, since we do have periods and stuff, like, are we more prone to having imbalance in our liver?
It depends. So a little bit of a side segue, but something that I do for my patients is conduct a 5-element reading. So depending on your year of birth, date of birth, month of birth, and the hour, they all represent something of the elements. One of the 5 elements: earth, wood, fire, metal, water. And if you have more wood, which represents liver, than others, you may be more patient. This is saying what you're born with. Of course, if you have an aggressive lifestyle, that may change, but mostly we're focusing on what you're born with. So if someone has more wood, meaning more liver strength, they have the ability to deal with stress or deal with imbalance in the emotional sense. For women, if you have irregular periods or tender breasts, That's something to think about for your liver as maybe being imbalanced, because the liver stores blood. If there's not enough blood, you won't have a regular period. If your breasts are sore, the liver meridian actually passes through the breast and goes up to the eye. So that's why when we feel really tender, it's because of the liver meridians getting quite busy and activated, and maybe our breasts are also feeling a little bigger right around the time for menstruation. That whole system is getting woken up and it's like preparing for the drop. So definitely women will feel more of these liver tendencies from the TCM side, the emotional sensitivity, the irritability, crying, because liver also opens into the eye. So when we have dry eyes or we're easily able to cry, that's like something has pent up in the liver meridian and it's now shooting out of the eye, or it's drying up because we're irritable. So a lot of those symptoms happen, especially for women, because of this blood moving cycle.
Yeah. You mentioned that the liver and gallbladder also link to your eyes and your nails and your tendons. If you have, say, dry eyes, or if you're seeing like flies, like black dots, basically, does that mean that you have an imbalance in both of these organs?
So again, it depends on the eye thing. If you see dots, that's very specific. And actually in TCM, we consider that to be a deficiency, an energy deficiency, blood deficiency. It could be liver, but it's more related to dryness. I think that may be an imbalance, or redness. Or if you see someone's eye and they have a bit of redness, like they've been staring at a computer for 14 hours and haven't slept, and they're like cracked out on caffeine, their liver is probably really overheated. So liver tends to overheat very easily. So yeah, again, it depends on the eye.
Okay, on the eye situation.
Yeah.
Okay. So I know from the previous episode that we had together, I talked about how I had eczema. Now, my eczema actually, it's on my hands, and it actually started showing on my nails as well. So my nails became like, there's like ridging on the nails. Now, how did that all linked up? Like, obviously it started with the large intestine, because of, the toxins not being released. So that's why it's being released onto my skin, for example. But now it's showing up on my nails. Like, how does that link to the liver and gallbladder?
So again, everything that TCM represents depends on the person. And nails, it can be when there's a liver imbalance, it can be that nails are brittle because liver loves blood. And if your body is deficient, everything becomes a little bit deficient. So nails that are weaker can represent a weakness somewhere, maybe blood, maybe something else. But for the eczema, I think it depends on the kind of eczema you have. I need to know if it's flaky, or if it's with pus, or if it's red, or if it's pink, or like when it comes, etc., to fully tell you if there's something with the liver. But I may look at something else, more like your tongue, or about the menstruation cycle. Look for signs of heat, because liver, again, is most easily heated. It makes sense because eczema is also a heat condition. It's red. So anything that's hot is red, is heat. And liver tends to overheat. Lung can also heat. Large intestine can also heat. Heart can also heat. But I think for the liver, usually it could be that something is affected there, but that wouldn't be my focus for what it sounds like you have.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So in general, for nails, for liver and gallbladder, it's more so just the quality of the nail. If it's brittle, then it's got to do with blood and the liver. So if you have fast growing nails, It means that you're pretty good in terms of your liver-wise.
Or that you have enough energy and nutrients to support your blood to grow nails, grow hair, like recover from cuts, all those things that are growing in your body. It's not just nails. It can just be the things, nails is one example, but overall that your body recovers quickly. Yeah.
Yeah. So for the tendon, is there anything that we should look out for the tendon? Is there anything that we can do to help strengthen them?
So, yeah, tendinitis is a little bit different it's not like tendinitis, it's just a purely liver condition. So everything, again, is connected, and probably there's a combination of other things, kidney or something else that's affecting, maybe spleen. But I would say for tendons, sometimes some people have cramping, for example, in their calves, or they just have very specific cramping that comes at a time of stress. And again, liver controls movement of qi and is most susceptible to holding on to the stress that we have throughout the day. And if it's blocked, then tendons get cramped up and you can feel just kind of a, unexplainable cramp. And that's a little bit different from the menstruation cramp, but it's more related to like a calf cramp or a glute cramp or something that feels like, I don't know, I didn't do anything, but it's just all tight and tense. Usually that kind of appears when someone's a little bit not emotionally checked in with the stress they feel. So I think I would recommend people to think about if you have a cramp and ask yourself, well, am I going through a stressful period? Is everything easy? Or am I just kind of holding things in and now it's manifesting as a cramp?
Mm-hmm. Got it. So you spoke of the element, which is wood, and the season for the liver and gallbladder is spring. What's there to look out for when it comes to springtime for the liver and gallbladder and the wood element? What is there to look out for?
So in TCM food therapy, herbal medicine therapy, and just general wellness or well-being, when we think about well-being, we always focus on treating the organ that is the time for that organ. So in spring, we'll focus more on treating the liver because the liver doesn't have its moment of fame, let's say, later on in the year because everyone gets their turn. And we also believe this allows the organ to receive the treatments most effectively during this time. So if someone didn't have any kind of serious health issues and they just want to use TCM as general wellness, we may say, well, it's time for liver, so we can do some liver stuff. And also I think that even if you had some kind of issue, we would probably focus on what is a seasonal component that we should look at now, spring, liver health, and maybe you have something else and we combine. But liver is mostly a time where we want to clear out the qi because liver is responsible for moving qi in the body, the whole body, not just liver. And we want to make sure that qi is free flowing. So the common disbalance for liver is liver qi stagnation. That's a diagnosis term. And when someone has liver qi stagnation, they may feel emotional or they may have irregular periods or blood is blocked. And that means that qi in the whole body is actually blocked as well. So spring, focusing on moving qi. It's also the first yang season. So everything is more in movement than in winter when the body is in yin and in this kind of slow hibernation time.
Is there particular foods that we should look out for during this time?
So naturally, the foods that come into bloom would be tender greens or baby greens because the season is just starting. So those foods are already great. Bitter flavors and sour flavors together can help alleviate any blockages in the liver. Sometimes people may have a sour taste in the mouth. It's probably probably less common. But I think that if you have a sour taste, it can represent that your liver and gallbladder are both needing a little bit of extra help. So I think during that time, you can definitely focus more on incorporating more bitter foods, some liver cleansing herbs. Also, acupuncture really helps just to move qi, which is what the liver is responsible for, through the body, so there is no stagnation.
So with all of these symptoms that we see, like, do you have any tips for us, or like any routines or habits that we should have to help balance these two jiangfu organs?
So for liver and gallbladder, liver is a very important organ for blood, and it also has a time. So liver and gallbladder both are optimally working starting from 11 p.m. to 1 a.m. and then from 1 to 3. So during that time, it's super important to be in deep sleep. And I don't mean lights out at 10:55 and then you're just closing your eyes at 11. I mean to be already in sleeping mode at 11 o'clock. So you should probably aim to be in bed at 10 and try to have your wind down routine for at least 30 minutes. And I say that because the liver is cleansing out blood during that time. So if you've had stress during the day, all of the blood from your body actually flows into the liver. So it's this huge organ. Again, it's storing all of that blood to clean it. And then when you're waking up in the morning, all of that blood comes out of the liver and now it's supplied through your hands, through your head, through all the toes of your feet. It's going everywhere. It's super important that it's in cleaning mode. And if you're kind of skipping that time and you say, well, I wake up at 10 and I go to bed at 2, it's not following the biological surroundings, and it can create some stress for your body to spend extra time to clean it out. Or you may just have a lot of stress blood or toxic blood that kind of just keeps circulating, and over time you build it up, and maybe you see signs of irritability, or you see signs of just some blockages emotionally, or lack of periods. I don't know, some things like that. But I think the first tip I recommend is for everyone to be in bed asleep by 11. That has to be. The second thing would be more for women's menstruation. It's really important to think about the food you eat and if you're getting the right amount of nutrients from these foods to produce blood, because we're constantly losing it every month. If you're someone that doesn't have a regular menstruation, it could be related to your liver, and that's really important to get checked up right away. And also, if you have cramping or breast tenderness, it can mean that the qi from the liver is not flowing as easily. So something to think about, maybe acupuncture or herbal medicine to help things a little bit, move things along, and then your body can, go into maintenance mode. But those signs would be important to address because they do affect our health every month. We at least maybe have a headache, or we have sore breasts, or we have heavy periods. All of those things are related to the liver. And yeah, I think the third tip, I would really recommend everyone to be conscious of their alcohol intake. I know it's COVID, and I'm sure alcoholicism has been through the roof, if not already before. But if you're someone that is already irritable and stressed and you're consuming more alcohol to deal with that stress, it's like gasoline to the fire. There's nothing that's going to make it more inflamed and upset and hot and cranky than more alcohol. So I always recommend people to think really consciously about their emotional well-being and try to be proactive with it before you get to a point where you're, just over the edge and you're trying lots of different substances, because that all hurts the liver.
Yeah. That goes right into my random questions round where I want to talk about alcohol and the liver. And just by you saying how the liver time is from 11 to, was it 1 a.m.? 11 p.m. to 1 a.m., right? Like, if you think back to like when you're probably in your 20s, like that's like prime drinking time. which is kind of crazy because that's supposed to be a time when you're supposed to nourish your liver the most, and you're actually hurting the liver the most. Wow. I can't imagine how messed up we were back in our 20s because of that. So with the popular, health tip, which is having a glass of wine each day, that's supposed to be healthy for you and healthy for your heart and stuff. Like, what is the TCM perspective of that? It's got to do good for something if it's in moderation, right? It can't be all bad for alcohol.
Yeah, I think, of course, if you stick to one glass, that is in moderation. And I also think it's really important to know if it's right for your body type. So if you're having an eczema flare-up, I would definitely stay away from alcohol for a week. Not recommended. And if you're, going through a stressful period, again, I just wouldn't add flames to the fire. But I think alcohol does serve a warming purpose, and it can be a great balance to certain foods. For example, wine and cheese. Cheese is a very cold property. If it doesn't get warmed up, it starts to create a collection in your body and turns into dampness. And sometimes you can accumulate that dampness if your body doesn't heat up enough. So wine, which is hot, warming, controls the coolingness that your body's experiencing from the cheese. So it's a perfect pair, actually. But I think wine or alcohol, if you're someone that is easily irritable, has maybe skin condition, dermatitis, eczema, anything like that, easily, just impatient, I would not recommend drinking a glass of wine every day. So it really depends on your body. And if you're also someone that's more on the constipated side, I wouldn't recommend it every day because that just starts to dry you up more. And I think also if you're someone with insomnia, I also wouldn't recommend it. So it's really important to know what's right for you, and again, in moderation. It's not like never enjoy something, but if you know you're going to have this glass of wine and you know that it may not be the best for you, but you want it to enjoy, you can drink more bitter things or cooling ingredients like chrysanthemum or cucumber, like I mentioned last time, and just balance the amount of the heat. So once you start to know all of these things, it's like every choice you make, you think, okay, so how does my body react to this? Is it going to like it? Is it going to be just, catastrophic? Well, I want to live my life. Okay, so how do I mitigate this potential event? And I think it's all about balance in the end, because you get to know your body, you make decisions, and you enjoy it. So I think that's the best way to go about it, is just to enjoy in moderation and know what's best for you.
Yeah. I'm just thinking like, oh man, like back in the days where people are just drinking like crazy, that's just wild. So for a gallbladder, I know my grandma certainly had gallstones before. So when that happens, it means that there's an imbalance in the chemical makeup of the bile inside the gallbladder. Now, in order for this imbalance to occur, like, does this mean you initially have an imbalance in your liver and then it trickles down to your gallbladder? What does gallstones in TCM perspective mean?
So gallbladder in TCM is similar to the Western function, where there's a bile that's secreted to help digestion of oily foods and greasier ingredients. It could be that someone who has a gallbladder dysfunction or imbalance there is consuming too much oily foods for their body to handle. Of course, everyone could have a different tolerance of those foods, but it's excessive consumption of over, some course of time. And so typically we want to look at probably using herbs to clear out any accumulation of oils or excessive oils in the body. Of course, we need a right amount, but if there's too much and the gallbladder is like over time working all the time, we need to strengthen the gallbladder system. But really, for gallbladder stones, we actually have herbs where you can just take those herbal formulas to dissolve what accumulates there instead of getting a surgery. Again, something to be noticing preventatively before you get to that point. Well, how's my digestion after eating greasy things? Do I have like bad breath? Do I have stomach cramping? Do I just feel really bloated? Am I not having a bowel movement? All of those things related to digesting greasy, oily, fried foods, pay attention to and see if there's something that needs to be addressed.
Oh, cool. I never knew that like herbs can actually dissolve a gallstone. That's kind of crazy.
Depends on the size.
Okay. Because I always hear that like it's surgical for that one. So that's really nice to know that that is actually an option if you actually have gallstones, depending on size.
Yeah, and also for kidney stones too, depending on size. Herbs can dissolve. Of course, you need to have the right practitioner prescribing those herbs, but maybe it's not publicized in the Western community as much because they're probably a more intense treatment, or maybe they use herbs that include animal products, so more commonly used in China than accepted by the Western community.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's really good to know. Thank you so much for joining us today in talking about the liver and gallbladder. Super appreciative of that. Would love to have you back on, later on, but we'll see. Yeah, so thank you so much for everything. I would definitely link all of your information in the show notes. And as always, please stay healthy and warm out there. And I'll catch you on the next episode. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
If you like this episode, please give it a like. If you would like to hear future episodes, please subscribe. Or if you have any questions about health, please send me an email at kuko.health@gmail.com, which is kuko.health. If you just want to say hi or drop me a DM on Instagram, come follow me at kuko.health, which is, again, kuko.health. Thank you so much for listening to me today. And please stay warm and healthy out there. And I'll catch you on the next episode. Bye.